requested features, which is import of mesh from standard 3D authoring tools in standard formats.
Yay.
We have a little bit of a video here to show, so we're going to roll a little bit of a video and then I'll talk to it as we go through it because there are some things that need to be made clear. But here we go, in the viewer, mesh. So you pop the upload dialog. You get a dialog that lets you select a file, set a mesh. You can see it's a mesh. You can look at the polygons. You can set the LODs. You can manipulate the mesh as you want in the little viewport. This is very far from final, so don't expect it to have much in terms of the way of how it's going to look. Imports into your inventory an object. You've named it bulk. Drag it out, and it reses in one.
Wow.
Now it's just a static object. It's a static object that comes in with its textures, comes in with its polygons. Right now this is sort of the state of affairs with it, but even just with this, you can imagine some of the benefits of being able to take artwork that was created elsewhere and bring it in world.
Mm-hmm.
You may not use it for anything other than, I don't know, a building, but you might look at something like this. We think this is going to enrich the world pretty significantly. In the last years, there's been a tremendous amount of content made available in 3D. But that's not all, because you might want to actually light this mesh that you've created and get some pretty interesting effects, whether it's shadow effects or diffusion lighting, reflection lighting. Take a look at this.
That's neat.
Pay attention to the area under the arch. You'll see this reflected light that's going up underneath the arch. It's really nice. And here it is at nighttime.
Nice. That's neat. Mm-hmm.
You see the shadow changing from very, 80% to 100%.
Nice.
Now, not all these rendering capabilities are going to be available on all platforms. Some of this is really Windows-specific rendering. But in any case, it's going to have a big impact.
What third-party products are you supporting, like Autodesk or 3D?
I think our strategy is probably around the support of a file format, an interchange file format, the output from there. So let's talk about the next thing that we can do to enrich the world, and that really is media. And I think we have media today. We have QuickTime. We have the ability to kind of express images, of course, on prims. But we want to take that to a big step further. And so let's take a look at the video for media. And this one has like a disco soundtrack, so if you want to get up and dance, it's fine. One thing to note is as you click on the surfaces, the camera is being moved to an orthographic perpendicular view so that the content is framed up inside of your viewer window.
Oh, wow.
It's interactive. You can type into the media texture. It'll actually go in, in this case he's searching on Second Life and pulls up a video on YouTube. He's scrubbing the video, interacting with the Flash content. You see the controls, sort of floating controls down at the bottom. These textures are interactive in the sense that not only can you interact with the content itself as he's dragging the map around or changing it to be satellite view, but you can also interact with it sort of as the browser, right? You can kind of click on links. You can type into Google.
Oh, it's amazing.
We've already seen a lot of experiences that are kind of like this, but I think as we start to really think about making this both kind of really rich in terms of having media types like Flash, but also highly interactive, you can imagine people actually collaborating. So if you have a Google Doc open and two people are actually interacting with it, it's a much more interesting prospect than just let me show you what I'm looking at. So here you have two folks being able to interact with something like a Google Doc.
This is so good for education.
Wow, that's great.
Wouldn't you have to have a computer that would do spreadsheets for that to appear?
Every computer can do that. Every computer.
No, it can't.
It's Google, sure it can. It's Google.
Mine can't.
Well, you have to buy a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So that's just a little sneak
This
peek
is on the web, it's free.
of what's coming.
Here's Google.
Frankly, I think this is just a major gap in our platform today, and I think by addressing it, it'll bring us up to par, although we think there are some very nice treats in there. I think it'll be great for a lot of different use cases, for education, for collaboration, for learning, for meetings, but I'm actually really interested to see what kinds of use cases residents will put it to when they really get their hands on the technology. And I do want to emphasize that gesture. I mean, I think one of the things about media for me, and particularly just Second Life, consuming content in Second Life, is that I can get navigating my avatar, but moving my camera, boy, you know what? I've been working on graphics software for a long time, and I know that the Control-Alt-Elbow-Shift mouse is not something that the new user is going to pick up. So having the face of the media be something you click on that moves you into it and makes it fill the screen, it'll make the accessibility of the media much more pronounced. So we think that between these two elements, which I know someone's going to ask me when, the answer is never in this lifetime. But the truth is that we hope to see this over the course of next year. We're not going to say when. But we think that these features are going to enrich the world pretty dramatically. So what do you guys think?
Yeah. Yay!
So that's the sneaks. But we have one last announcement to make, and that is the LLMedia API. LLMedia is an API in the viewer. It's the same API that we use with WebKit and with GStreamer or QuickTime. We're making that open and accessible, and we're hoping that there are developers, maybe in this audience or out in the blogosphere, who will want to develop plugins for the viewer to support classic media types, things like PDF or maybe even Java or DivX or the Office formats or what have you. Or.
DivX.
You might even use it for some other purpose. It's generically very similar to the NS API, for those of you who know it. So there should be a lot of pre-existing work that can be applied. But we're excited about this. And we're announcing it today because we want developers to be able to get their hands on the code, get their hands on the documentation, and start to produce some of these media plugins so that we can hopefully include them with the next version of the viewer. And of course, we'll have machinery for managing, hey, you don't have this plugin, would you like to get it, download link, all that kind of stuff. And we'll try and ship as many media plugins for the viewer as we can. So I'll be making a blog post tomorrow with a link to a binary and source, some sample implementations, documentation, what have you, and support will be provided via SL Dev List. So I don't think any of them are in the room because it is early on a Sunday morning, but congratulations to the media team for actually shipping that and getting that, so thank you. Okay.